Welcome to the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. I'm your host, Emma O'Brien, personal development coach, heart math practitioner, dog photographer, and entrepreneur. In this podcast, I share tools, strategies, and amazing guest interviews to help you improve your mindset and your well-being with a sprinkle of fun and probably some mention of dogs along the way. So without further ado, let's squeeze the day. Hi folks, welcome to episode 52 of the podcast. Today my guest is Alicia Cramer and we're talking about breakdowns, breakthroughs, and how energetic alignment is key to success as an entrepreneur. First up, a bit about Alicia. Alicia is an internationally recognized business mindset expert who specializes in helping business owners quickly shift their subconscious blocks so they can create more money, success, and fulfillment. She's been referred to as the go-to hypnotherapist for entrepreneurs, and she's helped thousands of clients and customers for over a decade to break through self-imposed limitations and achieve their personal and professional goals. Welcome to the podcast, Alicia.
Thank you. It's almost 2 decades already.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I know I don't look that old, but
not at all, but it's great to be talking to you with 2 decades of experience working with entrepreneurs, being an entrepreneur. Now you're a serial entrepreneur. And I'm really excited for this conversation because we often talk about and we hear from successful entrepreneurs. We hear about them on podcasts and in the media, but what we don't hear about and what's not shared is the messy process of achieving success. And I know from my own experience that when there's been an impending up level in my business, whether that's because I've chosen to do something different or because something I've been doing to get clients in suddenly stops working, which it happens, I have found that things often get worse before they get better. And I've heard it referred to as the breakdown before the breakthrough. Why does this happen?
when we understand how our mind works, it starts to make a bit more sense. It's like the ahas start happening. Our mind is the accumulation of all of our beliefs and our conclusions about life and all of the data that we've collected. And we have a whole host of beliefs. Many of them do not serve us particularly well when we are reaching for new levels of success. We have a whole self-image that includes the stories that we've been telling ourselves about what what's possible for us, what we're capable of, who we are, who we can be. And as we start to venture into uncharted territory, which is essentially what we're doing anytime we're setting a new goal for ourselves, we've got to remember that the reason we're not there yet is because that's not our current belief structure. That's not our current self-image. And so the way we're wired is to just operate based on these beliefs, this self-image. Bob Proctor calls them paradigms. What we've got to understand is that is why we are living what we're living. And so as we say, I'm going to reach this new level of success in my business, I'm going to raise my prices, I'm going to increase my net worth, warning bells start going off in the subconscious mind. So a lot of people have heard the term homeostasis. We know that the body, our physical body, which is governed by our subconscious mind, it's all about homeostasis, which is regulation and keeping more of the same, the status quo. Well, what we're creating in our life and in our business is very much the same. We have that homeostasis. There's a regulation process going on. And when we start to deviate too much from that, our subconscious mind is going to start to fire off our beliefs. It's going to start to interject and do what a lot of people refer to as self-sabotage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking actions that lead to us staying the same or creating setbacks. And so the bigger your goal, right, the more variance there is between your current mindset, your current beliefs, your current self-image, and what you are striving to be and create. And that means that every belief that contradicts that new version of you, that new next level goal, that's got to all get cleaned up, because those things are directly contradicting who you are aspiring to become. And it is not just as simple as saying, I'm choosing this goal for myself. And then you get swept into the current of, the universe is like, oh, yes, of course, by all means, here's all the clients and here's all the money.
If only the universe was
if
that
only,
cooperative.
Right? Now, I will say that sometimes some of my messaging can be seem like it's contradictory, because I'm talking about manifestation and I'm talking about universal laws, and we know that visualization and hypnosis and all of that stuff can create what appears to sometimes be these magical, miraculous changes in our life. But you've got to understand that that's still incredibly law-based. And so we're operating within the construct of how the mind works, how the subconscious operates and affects everything that we are living and creating in our reality, how this universe works. And now we got to start to play within those rules, because guess what? You can't play outside of the rules. It just simply will not work. There is no hack to the law of the universe. You learn how to play the game within the laws of the universe, and things start working a whole lot better.
Yeah, and it's quite a process, isn't it? And I remember the time I had a massive breakdown before a breakthrough was when I first started working with a business coach, and I'd hit a complete ceiling in my photography business of working 7 days a week, doing sometimes 4 photo shoots a day, like some sort of busy martyr. Wasn't making any money, was exhausted, fed up, and everything else. And obviously I needed to change something. So we made the changes. And honestly, that tipped me into a complete emotional breakdown, to be quite honest, because we upended everything that had been familiar for me. And I realized I was running beliefs, if I don't work, I don't get paid. You've got to work really hard to make money. Photographers never make that much money. So all of these things came up all in one go to be dealt with.
I always say, you cannot take that stuff with you. And as painful as it can be to keep tripping over our limiting beliefs, it's part of the process. We have to let that stuff go to really fully and completely embody this newer version of ourselves that is in alignment with that lifestyle and those improvements and those changes that are really heartfelt desires. There's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your life. In fact, the law of life, we see evidence all around us. This universe is expanding. It is not getting smaller. Everything is always in a process of evolution. And that includes us, and our desires are part of that process. It's like a spiritual awareness that is sometimes subtle and sometimes not so subtle, that is saying to us, this is who you are supposed to become. And we keep trying to push it away and work around it and skip step and take a jetpack to the top of the staircase instead of, taking the logical steps. We just have to start to ground ourselves in some of this higher learning, higher understanding. The journey becomes smoother. But, I just received this question the other day. It was more of a statement sort of question, like, oh, well, it does become easier once you understand this, right? And yes and no. Sometimes it is easier when we've gone through this and we look back in retrospect and we know what's happening. We're like, okay, this is probably just the breakdown before the breakthrough. My life is not completely falling apart. It's not all going to end in doom and gloom. But the reason I don't say that with 100% absolute conviction is because there are times where we're going through one of those up-leveling periods and it's like, okay, this is a little scary, a little bit uncomfortable, but I understand what's happening here and I'm going to get through it and I can stay positive and I can look for the good in this. I have faith. It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we transition through it relatively smoothly. That's wonderful. But that's not the way that every up leveling goes. Sometimes, especially if it's one of those big, like shake up your life, and we're talking about some pretty substantial changes internally and externally, even if you understand this and you've lived through it before multiple times, it can still be extremely uncomfortable to go through this because a whole new set of those old limiting beliefs and the old self-image stuff comes up and it can really knock us on our ass.
Yeah, and I can relate because I'm kind of going through that process currently as I'm career shifting, and I'm sitting with the intellectual knowing that, yeah, I know this is the kind of difficult bit before I kind of get over the top of the hill, if you like, and one has to just keep going. But it is difficult. I think the one thing, if I share what's happening a little bit, the one thing I find frustrating is that I'm taking a lot of action and nothing's happening, and there's no universal reciprocity. So me and the universe have been a little bit at odds currently. I'm like, do me a favor.
Let me just say, and I don't know if this will help right now, but perhaps it'll plant a seed for that looking back in retrospect, and you'll appreciate it at some point in the future. You're not alone. This is so common. I can't tell you how many times I've said some choice words to the universal forces. And I've been studying this stuff for a very long time. I have my master's degree in metaphysical science. I've been down the woo-woo rabbit hole for a very, very long time. And when we're going through this, you hear these analogies and these metaphors and these kind of cutesy little things about, the butterfly that emerges from the cocoon and there is truth in it, though. When we are going through this process, we are unbecoming and we're being rebuilt in a lot of respects. Our beliefs, our energy, our consciousness is changing. And part of this process that we're going through is dealing with all of the information that is being fed to us from outsiders who appear to be, they got their shit together, they're successful, and they're saying manifest, instant manifestation, instant alignment, do this thing, and clients are going to rain from the sky into your business. And the challenge is, it's not that that's not true. It's that you're only seeing a snapshot. You're only seeing a part of that particular unfolding process. The truth is, all of us can see that sometimes we do have a quick manifestation. Sometimes we do have a quick big win. And our mind misinterprets that as that's just the way it's always supposed to be, without recognizing that sometimes there are other things that we are supposed to be evolving through, which become part of the big picture that we don't see yet.
Yeah, I 100% relate to that. And I think sometimes in retrospect, you can look back and say, that taught me 5 extra things. It helped me build my resilience level so that I am able to help other people through a similar journey. So I, apart from when I'm having choice words with the universe, I am able to look at it and say, there will be, I am very confident, some higher purpose to this being a pretty tough road to go down. And it's interesting, I think also you were talking about beliefs coming up. I was thinking back to when I first started my photography business and I was 23, so we're 20 years ago. And the thought that it wouldn't work never occurred to me. And I think because I've been trying to make a comparison of what am I doing differently now? What did I do then that kind of allowed it to be successful? I think I've probably forgotten a lot of the bumpiness along the way that I'm not doing now. And I think then I just went, cool, I can do that. I'm going to go for it. And I didn't sit questioning myself, should I, or am I qualified enough? And I think the older you get, unfortunately, the more you question yourself. And I've been looking at what am I believing and what do I need to let go of in order to be able to do a similar methodology that I did when I was 23. So be interested to hear your take.
Yeah, this is the perfect example of how the mind and how the universe really are very synergistic. Because when we have that experience where we're so naive, and I've experienced this multiple times in various different business ventures, and it's so interesting. I'll use my other business. I have multiple businesses. One of my businesses is a real estate business. When I decided to embark on that was sort of kind of a long time coming. My husband planted the seed. He's like, you should get into real estate. I was like, why would I want to get into real estate? Then I started looking at it from the perspective of it's a great, it's a great wealth builder. Investing in real estate is one of the primary ways that people build wealth. So I say, okay, well, sure, let's do it. So I am incredibly naive and I think to myself, you know what, it'd be fun. I'll get my license, I'll do a couple of deals, I'll make, some chunks of cash, I'll put that into investments. Easy breezy, right? I got all this business experience, I've got all this marketing experience. I should be able to knock this out of the park. So I get my license and I build my website and I set up my basic marketing channels, and somebody contacts me, right? Just hit the ground running. First year in real estate, right? Just doing pretty good. And the interesting thing was that when I started to take it more seriously and I started to listen to the experts and I started to learn what was happening in the industry, I'm like, holy crap, what did I just get myself into? Like, this is really hard. And no, look at how many awful things you have to do to get leads in real estate. And I don't know if I like this. And, the more I started to get programmed by other people's opinions and beliefs, limiting beliefs, the more it adversely affected the natural things that had been happening before with very little effort. So interesting. And so when I was able to take a few steps back and look at that, I'm like, holy crap, the harder I try, the worse this is going for me. And this is where, and I teach this in my business mindset mastery program. We have to hit the reset button because most of us, the reason that our business is stalled and stagnant is because we're trying to figure it out. And we are being imprinted with other people's limiting beliefs. And we start to look at the evidence in our own life and business, and that becomes a validation for other people's limiting beliefs. And then we conclude that must be true. And so what we're doing is we're layering on all of this negative crap, and it is having a very adverse effect on our self-confidence, our self-esteem, our self-worth, our ability to trust ourselves, our ability to trust the universe. And we have to unravel and unpack and clean all of that stuff up so we can get that fresh energy back within ourself and within our business. And that's why I think people have such incredible, like, quick shifts, like transformation. Like I used to do that program with a small group, and they would be calls, like back in on Skype calls, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
or Zoom. And you know, we'd have the call, and then everybody would come back the next week and they'd be like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. You can't believe what happened. You know, like I got all these new clients and this new speaking deal and it's like, because we're hitting the mental, emotional, vibrational reset button. The potential was always there. We just have a tendency to get out of vibrational alignment with what we want because we're so busy trying to figure it out and fix what's wrong. And if you look at it from that very metaphysical perspective, we look at it from an understanding of the law of attraction. Well, the law of attraction is based on the law of vibration. And so if you're in the vibration of, I'm doing something wrong, I don't have this figured out, I must not know the secret sauce, then what are you vibrating? What are you putting out? And what are you attracting? Evidence that verifies and validates those beliefs and that energy that you're in. And the fascinating thing is that all it takes a lot of times is just a shift.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden things start flowing again.
Yeah, and it's just, it resonates very much with what you're saying, and I think it makes a lot of sense that we tend to slip into negative thinking and negative mindset and getting very caught up in being cross with the universe. Shame. I had to apologize. I did apologize after shouting at the universe, but so if we're talking about getting into vibrational alignment, and for somebody who's listening and saying, I totally get it, and I'm stuck in this place of listening to other people, oh, you know, the economy's tough, difficult to set up a business, oh, is this a good idea? Or I wouldn't if I were you, or oh, you're very brave. What are a couple of ways that we can shift our vibration so we can start to get more in energetic alignment with that place of it flowing and it being easy?
So there's a couple of pieces that are absolutely essential. One is the awareness of what we're freaking doing to ourselves. Now, there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. Just simple mindfulness is a very helpful strategy. But sometimes we're so stuck in our negativity. We've got so much momentum on it, especially if they're very ingrained limiting beliefs. They can be hiding in plain sight. We become somewhat desensitized to the fact that it's an active script running in our mind constantly. And there are different ways that we can access that. I like the process of the brain dump. That's something that I oftentimes will take people through. Like, let's just look at the shit that we're thinking, you know. Grab a notebook and a pen and sit down with yourself and just make a commitment to just lay it all out. Don't hold anything back. Be as blunt. I mean, this is where we need to practice real self-honesty. What do you believe is wrong with you? What do you believe is wrong with your business? What do you believe is going on? What do you believe about you? Why do you think this is happening? A lot of stuff is going to start to come to the surface. Some of it you're going to say to yourself, that's ridiculous. But I always say, if it's coming up, it's in your subconscious. So just write it down, because now you can actually start to unpack it, unravel it. Once you've done that, there are a lot of different processes for clearing the negative emotional charge associated with those beliefs. I love EFT. Back in 2006, that I started my EFT practice. I still use it to this day with clients. I have tons of EFT videos on my YouTube channel and my Inner Game Academy. I teach it in my programs because it's so valuable for cleaning up limiting beliefs. But there are other releasing processes, tons of them, in fact. I also recommend the release technique. I teach a lot of different releasing processes. The reason is whenever we have a really stuck belief, there is a really strong emotion associated with it. When we clean up the emotion, then it's just a non-triggered, non-charged thought. Those things have no power over us. Then we can reprogram ourselves with something that's way more empowering, way more aligned with our higher truth, our values, and our desires. So when you identify what those beliefs are, notice the ones that are really triggered and start to take the emotional charge off of it. Once you do that and it starts to feel a bit more neutral, now you can do your visualization work. You can visualize, imagine, use hypnosis, use a meditation, a guided meditation process, do affirmations. There's so many different programming processes that can be done. That's where we will now infuse the new emotion. Emotion plus thought equals manifestation when done powerfully and consistently. So now that you're not interjecting with your conflicting beliefs, now really amp up who you are becoming. And a lot of the great metaphysicians throughout like the eras have explained that when you do your visualization, when you're infusing that emotion, we're not seeing it as some future event. We're experiencing it as though it is occurring right now. And that's a beautiful thing about hypnosis also, is when we enter that deeper state, when we get into the alpha or the theta brainwave state, and we're visualizing, we're imagining, we're picturing, we're pretending, we're seeing it through our eyes. We're experiencing the sensations of it as though we are living it right now. And that is one of the most powerful forms of putting that manifestation into action. And it's a powerful way of impressing the subconscious mind, which is ultimately determining our actions, our thoughts, our behaviors, and whether or not we are going to be cooperating with our heart's desires or we are going to be contradicting our heart's desires.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing amount of information and strategy you've just shared there. So thank you very much, because I think that's just so powerful. And what I get from that is when you're struggling to succeed, you're, like you say, you're working against yourself. You want to, let's say you want to be earning $100,000 in a year, and that's effectively tripling what you're currently earning. If you don't fundamentally believe you can do it, you're going to half-heartedly take action, but the fundamental driving force is, I can't do this, I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy of it. So that's when, like you've touched on, the self-sabotage comes in. And what I hear from that is once you can clear the unworthiness, I can't do it, all of the beliefs that are sitting underneath, and like you said, most of it's all subconscious, is you can actually start to rise up and meet that new belief because you are ready to take action towards it. And I think often one of the heart math techniques that I really like is being able to generate a positive emotion in the moment, and it shifts your whole physiology. And when we come from a space of gratitude or abundance or prosperity or whatever it is that you're generating, you are not distracted by all the worry and the ruminating thoughts that are going on. You're actually able to go, great, I'm in a good space. I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to actually get out of my comfort zone and do some reach out emails. And then you are more likely to see that goal come into fruition because you're taking the action rather than subconsciously stopping yourself. I think that's it. This is such an interesting conversation because I think a lot of people don't realize, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, is it 95% of our thought processes are driven by our subconscious?
That's what a lot of the experts say. I've heard everything. When I was going through my hypnotherapy training, they said 88% is subconscious. A lot of people say 95% is subconscious. And to your point, we can't clean it all up, right? And so I have a really firm philosophy. And even my lifelong clients who've been with me for a very long time, and they've had such tremendous growth in their lives, in their businesses, still trip over this. And I have to remind them, we have to remind ourselves that we only work on cleaning up the negative when we bump up against it. The majority of our time, we are focused on where we're going. We're focused on the positive. We're focused on being in gratitude, feeling the passion for what we're doing, being carried by the positive, energetic momentum of those states of consciousness. When we're going through our day-to-day life and bam, oh, just got hit by imposter syndrome or self-doubt or fear, right? That's when we stop and we say, okay, is this a quick release? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. If it's not a quick shift and you can't get your head back in the game, then you sit down and you do the inner work. Yeah. That's when you take the time and you look at what are the beliefs and you take that negative emotional charge off of them. And then you are able to, once you're out of that low vibration that just got triggered, once you release that, now you're in a more neutral place. Now you can start reaching for those higher vibrations like passion and gratitude. Those are different vibrations. And so when you're feeling fearful, you can't just jump from fear to positivity. It's not sustainable. You'll get kicked right back out of that vibration. Do your work, clean that up so that you can sustain a more neutral vibration. And from there, now you can start to actually build upon that and get into those higher vibrational states, which are perfect for being productive and getting incredible results. And that is where we have to just keep reminding ourselves. It's not about trying to find and fix everything that's wrong with us. That's the wrong focus. Wrong focus. You'll only just keep finding more and more and more stuff because it's like endless, right?
Yep.
Just clean up what you're bumping up against and then hit that reset button and get back in the game, get back out there and start taking those inspired actions again.
Yeah. And I think that's really wonderful to highlight that personal development work is a journey that ends when you die. It doesn't stop. And I think what you've said and what you've shared is you're working with clients who are hitting big goals, but they're still coming up against this stuff. And it's about having the tools to say, oh, I'm self-aware enough to feel that my imposter syndrome has been triggered here, and get curious about it. Because I think sometimes we can be frightened of these negative things that come up. And there's almost a tendency to go, shut up, and try and put it back in a box somewhere, which doesn't work because it's still there in the corner going, hi, I'm afraid.
Like the Jack in the Box that just keeps popping up when you don't want it to.
Locks on cupboards full of negative stuff are only so strong for so long. So I think it's a really great point that it's just about developing that self-awareness, having the tools. And if you get stuck, it's reaching out. People like you, people like me who are there to help and support you when the going gets tough. You don't have to do it on your own. I think that's the really great thing about this work. So
we're in it together. We are all in it together. We look to those who are sort of divinely placed there to help us at that stage on our journey.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't meant to do it all alone. As human beings, we're part of a collective, we're part of a community, and there are always going to be solutions for every problem. There's always going to be the word of encouragement that you need, or the mentor that you need, or the support that you need to get you to that next level.
Yeah, amazing. Alicia, thank you very much. This has been really insightful, really interesting, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. Could you share with folks listening where they can find you online? And I know, because I've signed up for it, you have a really great freebie as well. Just say a bit more about that.
So everything is available on my main website, which is aliciacramer.com, ALICIACRAMER. There will be an opt-in box right at the top of the website for my business success course hypnosis audio program. That is like 7 to 10, something in that range, hypnosis audios that really deal with the foundational mindset pieces that we need to begin to adopt if we want to really succeed in our businesses. So it's covering confidence and wealth consciousness and releasing limiting beliefs and really starting to embody the mindset of a successful business owner. So I recommend anyone who's curious, check it out. It's there, it's available to you for free. And I also have a lot of free hypnosis audios, EFT videos, stuff like that on my YouTube channel as well. And there's a link to that on the website.
Amazing. I'll add all of those into the show notes as well, so folks can just go and find you. And I know I've done this afternoon one of your hypnosis audios. So, and it was really great. I really enjoyed it. So highly recommend, folks, if you're curious about energetic alignment work, please go and check out Alicia's stuff. So Alicia, thanks again for being with us today. It's been really great.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please share with your friends and be sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. To find out more about my one-on-one coaching, please visit my website, which is emmaobriencoach.com. And remember, folks, when life gives you lemons, you can always choose another fruit. See you next time.